Welcome back to the Turnaround Boardroom. I am your host, Paul Maskill, and this podcast is for home service business owners who want to understand their numbers better. We are going to stop lying to ourselves. We're going to remove the emotion, remove the ego, and remove the excuses and let the numbers guide us. We focus on helping home service business owners create predictable profitability with consistent positive cash flow. Today, we have a fellow home service business owner on the show. This is his story. We are going to dive into the good, the bad, the ugly of an actual business. Like all of our episodes, we are discussing real business. Nothing should be considered financial, legal, or tax advice for your specific situation. Every business is different, including yours and including Patrick Fees. Patrick is the founder of Mr. Drain Plumbing. He scaled from 0 to 7 million in year one and $14 million in year two with just 14 trucks remaining and maintaining 25 to 30% EBITDA. He shares how marketing, sales, culture, and AI are helping him scale his business while also not working 24/7. Patrick, what's up, my man? How are you today?
I'm doing amazing, sir. Glad to be here. Glad to be on the show.
Yes, I
It-
appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, helping other home service business owners out there. So let's just get right into it. Give everybody kind of the insight into when you got started, how you got started. Where did Mr. Drain Plumbing get its start at?
Mr. Drain Plumbing was long overdue. Um, I had already been in the industry. I worked my way up the ladder. Started as apprentice, not knowing how to swing a hammer, technician, and then project estimation, comfort advisor, operations manager, all the stuff, right? 24 years later, a very good friend and my now business partner and I had been working many years together. He's on the sales side of things. I was found my love for operations. I love the numbers. I love staring at KPIs and P&Ls all day long. I couldn't be happier doing that. I think the only thing that makes me happier maybe is marketing, but that's a close one right there. Those two things that's my peanut butter and jelly in life. Um, so anyways, he goes, what are we doing? Like we've had a lot of fun. We've made a lot of business owners very successful and helped them on their journey. They too, let me, to all fairness, I've had so many amazing mentors, owners of these businesses that allowed me to make mistakes with their money, right? And that takes brave people to do. A lot of times that worked out very well for them. I've helped grow several businesses from 0 to over 100 M and help them find their equity exits and stuff. But along the way, those people are gambling with you, right, as their manager. So at some point, we said to ourselves, it's time to spread our wings, and the only job that we haven't done is be the owner. And Paul, there's days where I couldn't be happier that we made that courageous leap. And then there's days where I just wish someone would hit me in the back of the head and say, "Why would you sign up for so much abuse and punishment?" Um, because it can be a roller coaster at times, and it's always changing. And so, anyways, we're in our third year now. My business partner called me up late one night. He was very close. I'd been the best man in my wedding. We had worked, like I said, many years together. He said, I got my C36, that's my plumbing license, and I'm leaving the company, and you and your wife are coming with me. And that's that. And like I said, he's a sales guy. So he closed us over the phone on this with no forethought. Um, that evening, the next day we met for lunch, made a business plan, and then he told me, well, you're you're all operations. So I'm gonna take a 2 week vacation. I'll give my 2 week notice to this company, and when I get back, I expect to have some leads to run and and everything good to go. And he wasn't wrong in saying that. So I scrambled. I don't know. I think we each invested $25,000, a $50,000 startup. He gave me 2 weeks. And that sounds insane, but at this point in my career, 24 years in, I had done plenty of greenfields, done plenty of M&As. I just always had the security blanket of it being someone else's at the end of the day. And so it was, all the fear was just up here. I knew I had all the skills, I had the tools, I had the resources, I knew who to call. Um, and I did. And 2 weeks later, he came back and we ran our first lead. We sold it. Him and I did that job together physically. The next job, we had already hired guys and off to the races we went. Um, I think within 3 months, we were out of the home office, right? Because like everybody, you start out of your garage. We were out of the home office. We bought a building, and that's where we're at today. Um, and we've actually bought the lot to the left and to the right of that building now, and expanded a little bit.
Super
Um,
cool.
so that's the whole history of it. It wasn't a lot of thought in it, and I share that story often because there's so many young men and women out there that have all the skills, all the knowledge, and they think they need some insane amount of resources and finances to start their business, and they really don't. Really, we could have done it probably with uh, 1/3 that budget if we had really wanted to. I mean, we wanted to come out with some pizzazz and some of the nicer CRM softwares out there and some better marketing right out the gate day one. But you could really home grow it on almost next to nothing, a truck and some tools, and just a willingness to work hard, right, and serve people. And
For
and I hope people, if they're thinking about it and listening to this, don't be scared. Just do it. I would rather, and I have, this isn't the only business I've had in life. I have failed more times than I've won. Um, I have more failures to make yet still in life. Uh, but I would rather at the end of the day look myself in the mirror and say, boy, that was a fun ride, and I'm so proud of myself for trying.
100%. And if you try, if you go for it, you at least know what will have happened. Where if you never go for it, you'll always be wondering what would happen if I would have done that. So
Yes.
that's always been my mentality as well, Patrick. So you guys said you put together a business plan, but it was really like, hey, you're gonna do some marketing for the next 2 weeks. When I come back, we're gonna run leads. What was your goal? Like, what was the ultimate goal when you started your business? Has it changed at all? Like, where are y'all taking this thing? Because year two, you did 14 million. You're in year three now. Um, where's this thing going?
So at the start, by it by the start of that second week, when we officially ran calls, I had an 8-year plan mapped out, and I broke it down quarterly, all 8 years, what our revenue goals were, top line and bottom line, what our gross margin should be, cancellation rates, close rates, all the KPIs, how many locations we should have, and the goal was in 8 years to be at 100M, looking at a nice exit offer. And that continued in year two as well. And I don't regret that at all, but it has taken a major 180 this year. And that's been, I shouldn't say just this year, it built in the last quarter of last year, and then and we made a decision to change. And that decision to change was mostly personal. Um, we had designed it to be this rapid growth, open multiple locations all up and down the West Coast here. Um, because that's what we had spent our time doing for other companies for probably the last 15 years of both of our careers. And so it was just rinse and repeat. Let's scale something as quick as possible and keep going, and until we can make this company attractive to a nice private equity group and find the right buyer for it. That's changed, and it mostly changed for personal reasons. And it was, we looked ourselves in the mirror and we said, why are we doing that? And you go, well, there's a big check at the end of the rainbow. Yeah, but are we happy where we're at? And the answer was yes, we're very happy. Um, we both have children, and most of our children are either grown and gone or in their college years. Um, very self-sufficient. I'm proud to say as a parent that all of our kids have kind of made their own way, same with my business partner's children. So the need for legacy wealth wasn't really there either. Um, and I don't know that our kids would accept anything from us. They're so independent and self-sufficient that who would we pass on some big thing to? So um, we changed big time, and now we're working on running the most efficient, lowest cost company that we can. Um, and we're content to that one shop. And let me, I should have prefaced this by saying, whatever size your business is, listeners, as long as it's what you're happy with, then you have arrived, right? If you're the Ishmaels, next gen before he exited, or the Tommy Mellos, and that's your dream, then chase that with all intensity and ferocity that you can. Dedicate your life to that. Um, if it's being chuck in a truck and having your home paid off and making all your kids' baseball games, then that man is just as wealthy, in my opinion. Um, and we're kind of somewhere in the middle there. So we actually scaled back. I'm proud to say this. This is a lot of AI, a lot of technology advances on the operation side of things, and we scaled back to about 10 million a year. Um, I think correction, 9 million a year. We scaled back to 9 million a year, but we've doubled bottom line. So we've doubled that EBITDA. We've decreased cost to our customers by 10%. We've closed down on the weekends so that our employees are home with their families where they should be. And our customer satisfaction rating has gone from a 4.8 to a 4.9. I,
Phenomenal.
I can't I can't I can't think of a better win. Customers are happier paying less. Employees have better quality of life. Oh, I forgot to mention, and through these efficiencies, the average field employee is making about 10% more. So employees making more, working less, owners making more, working less, customers paying less and getting better quality service. Um, do I need to expand to be happy? I feel pretty fulfilled in my career life. It's funding my personal life. Um, I'm not suffering by any means, but I'm not a yacht guy either, right? As long as I can, I don't know, maybe have a ski trip in the winter and a little ocean somewhere in the summer, I'm pretty content, right? So that's where we're at right now. Um,
Yeah, no, I love it, Patrick. And that's really our premise here is, our vision, our belief is we need to build the business that empowers us to live a life that we love. And first question I have with everybody that wants to work with us is like, what does success look like? And at first it's like, I want to do X amount of dollars. I want to do $20 million in revenue. I'm like, well, why? I don't know, because that's a number, right? And once we start boiling it down of what does your ideal life look like, we might only need a $9 million business that's 25% EBITDA. Everyone's super happy. It's going to grow organically. It's going to go from 9 to 10 to 12. It'll probably still get to 20 or 30 million over the next 10 years. And your lifestyle is amazing. You're making more money than you probably ever thought was possible when you started your career 24 years ago. And you could still sell it for a ridiculous amount that, you know, 7 years ago, everyone would have said was insane. So I love it. There's more to life than working. Again, like you said, if you're the Tommy Mellos or the Ishmaels and you want to, you're going to the billion and you're going to, like you said, sacrifice your life. There's a lot of things you got to sacrifice. And at the end of the day, you know, are the kids and grandkids and friends and family going to care that you did all that just to put a couple extra dollars in the bank that you can't do anything with anyway? I don't know.
yeah.
So,
God bless those guys, the Tommies and the Ishmaels, because they pioneer a lot of stuff that the rest of us get to copy and paste. And I am so grateful those guys share their knowledge so freely. They really do. So um I'm grateful that there's those people that are that obsessed, right? And I get it because I get obsessive about things too. But but where I'm at, right? This is a comfort spot. And where I'm most proud to is I didn't just build the life that my business partner and I felt comfortable. Obviously, that's a conversation. It has to be as an owner. You can't. My job is to serve my most important customer, which is my employee, right?
Yep.
Treat them like a VIP at all times. And in that respect, the employee is then to treat our forward facing customers, no matter how big or small the project is, at that same VIP level of service or better. And it should be a competition that we're always trying to see who can treat the next person best. Still, at the same time, as an owner, you have to think about your own needs too. And I'm really proud right now for this moment because the economy changes, the game changes, right? But for this moment in time, I'm going to celebrate where we're at is that we've created that three-way win for the customer, the employee, and the owners. And everybody's dreams are being met. And it feels really good when you can dream big enough to include everyone's dream.
Yeah, no, I mean 100% because you're giving opportunities and careers to people that most of them were told growing up that, oh, you're just going to be a plumber or you're not going to go to college. Like, man, you're stupid. You got a D on that test. And now they have a life that a lot of the people would love to have. They're making six figures. They're not working weekends. They're off of work at 5 o'clock and they get to go spend time with their family. They get paid vacation, they get benefits, all that kind of stuff. Like you said, when their dreams and vision can fit inside the company's dreams and visions, everybody wins. And we all show up with that attitude, the customers are going to win as well. So, question for you, curious on because I see a lot of guys get stuck on this when they first start their business. They just kind of determine like, well, we're just going to charge this because that's how much I want to make. Obviously, you came in with a lot of experience and you knew what you needed to do to get to $7 million in 1 year. Cause obviously if you're going to go that quickly, go that far that quick, you have to be priced right. Otherwise you're going to need a lot of capital. Um, how did you how did you just come out the gates saying like, guys, even when it was just you, we've got to charge this amount because at some point we're going to have all of these things. We're going to have overhead and we're going to have labor and we're going to have benefits and we're going to have workers' comp. We're going to have all these things. Because I see so many businesses, they're like $5 million and they're breaking even because they aren't charging what they need to be charging for a $5 million company. They're charging as if they are still that quote unquote chuck in the truck. So how did you guys just come out of the gate, you know, more or less dialed in, with your numbers to be able to scale like that?
So I told you my two loves are marketing and the numbers, right? I have at all times up on my screen are P&Ls for the last 12 months, trailing. I have all our KPIs. I probably have 50 tabs open on my screen at all times. I have a really, really huge screen I'm looking at here. And it's broken up into like octo boxes, I like to call it. And you'd think I'm a day trader with what I'm looking at, but I live and die by those numbers, and that's the only way I know to run the business. Um, so day one, well, let me be honest. I think our first three jobs we just kind of eyeballed it. Um, but again, that was mostly because I had so rapidly set up the business and just kind of threw some wraps on a couple bands, bought them as quick as I could, right? So I think by week three, I got into our Service Titan account and started doing my margin based pricing, right? Built off our P&Ls. And obviously at that time we didn't have any P&Ls, so I was projecting all these costs. I know I have an advantage over some people because I'd spent so many years managing and seeing these numbers. I had very good ideas of what they would look like, even though we didn't yet have those costs. So I knew about where I needed to be. But even still, as a manager, it's not the same as an owner, right? It's not your money. And no matter, I, I've met I was probably a middle of the road manager, not the best. I cared. I definitely cared. Um, but until the day I became an owner, I didn't realize that I never cared that much, right? Because it's your bank account now. So you start caring a little bit more where it's going. Um, but I did. I would spend I spent so many hours in the beginning of this business. I'd be up till midnight, 1 a.m. in the first year of the business, almost 6, 7 days a week. There was no balance for me. Uh, and I would just Google and ask ChatGPT and get on the phone and network with every person I could meet. I was friend requesting people on social media that had never met me, that owned large companies, asking, "Hey, can you help me gauge an idea of the P&L for my area?" And you wouldn't believe, I attended so many conventions, so many plumbing conventions too in the first year, and I I sat and listened to a lot of the panelists, but mostly what I did was I stuck out my hand, introduced myself, and said, "I'm I just want to learn. And can I call you?" And then I would get their number, lock it in my phone, write it in my notebook, and by the airplane ride home, I was texting these men and women, these service-based business owners, and saying, "When's a good time to call?" And you wouldn't believe how, I mean, the community is so open arms about helping each other. You would think it'd be the other way around. Like even locally, and I know these are my competitors, right? But like locally, competitors would share with me insights and information. And I tried to do the same thing back for everyone I meet at all times. And because of that, I was able to really dial in numbers long before I assume those costs and build them into our margin-based pricing software.
That's amazing. And yeah, I mean, highlight for everybody listening. I tell this to all my clients, like find somebody that's 2 steps ahead of you, reach out to them, ask if you can go spend 24 hours with them, like fly there, spend the day with them, take them out to dinner, fly back the next day. So many people are like, why would they do that? And it's like you said, it's just such a giving community because everyone, not, 98% of the people want 98% of the people to win. Like there's
Yes.
so many people here that they know exactly what you're going through. And, to them, it's like you can spend one day with somebody that's 2 steps ahead of you and accelerate where you want to go by months or years. And I've done this several times when I owned an electrical company, we would go visit companies that were bigger than us. And it was so valuable just to see, like, we get so stuck into our little bubble. And it's so valuable just to see, like, what's people's mornings process? How does dispatch work? How do they pull parts? What does their warehouse look like? What does their sales training look like? All these things, you just pick up these little nuggets that get you so much further. So I love that. 100% agree on that. Following up to the numbers conversation, and maybe you've gone through a little bit of this because you are kind of scaling back, but most people in the trades, if you go to those conventions you're talking about, probably the first 2 questions they ask, how big are you? And you're either going to say how many trucks you have or how much revenue you do. And neither of those tell us how much money we're actually making. I see so many businesses that are doing, you know, 5, 7, 8, $10 million and they're not making any money. And their thought process is, well, once I get to X, then I'm going to take the time to become profitable. I just got to get to 7 if I'm at 5. I just got to get to 10 if I'm at 7. Once I get there, then we're going to be profitable. Here's the thing. You're not going to be profitable because you don't want to be profitable today. What do you tell those people that are just chasing the top line and they're trading profit for volume and revenue and ego over and over?
Yeah, revenue is what do they say? Revenues for vanity.
That's
I
what
think
that's what they
yeah,
say.
yeah, and EBITDA is for Sandy, but cash flow is king, right? I don't I share my revenue in EBITDA in introductions and podcasts like this, or when I'm on panels and stuff, because that's kind of like the accepted norm to qualify yourself. But really, at the end of the day, I'm looking at cash in, cash out, month to month, right? Sometimes week to week. I want to know that that account is increasing. Um, and the only time it should not be increasing is when we're pulling from growth accounts, money that's been set aside for growth, and those accounts are going down. So it has to be very premeditated. It's not just, hey, we had a great month, let's rush out and buy 3 new trucks, because next month's going to be the same. You need predictability and all this stuff. Um, I ran very, very aggressive in our first year. Aggressive with marketing and hiring and onboarding all the equipment that goes with each of those employees. That was intentional. Second year, our growth was all derived through efficiency. We held our marketing budget the same. This third year, we cut out 30%, but it was intentional. So all the marketing for the evenings and weekends, that was 30%. We cut that out. We don't need that. Someone younger and more hungry can go after that. Um, we found by giving our employees that time off, their efficiency increased almost like 40%, which increased their pay about 10%, increased our bottom line. But at the end of the day, the cash flow went up. Right. So if you're looking at a P&L, I always, I got the revenue vanity number at the top. You got your gross margin in the middle where you feel good. And then you have all this overhead, all this stuff that you really don't want to have to spend for every month. But, usually it's insurances and required by states and authorities and stuff to keep yourself safe and reduce your liability. And then you see that EBITDA number at the bottom. I put in my P&L reports my cash in, my cash out, right down there. It should, and it's in the boldest, biggest text possible. So it draws my eye to that. I'm forced to look at that constantly. Um, I'm always managing that EBITDA number and then the cash in, cash out number. Those are where I start and end my day. Everything else is just what levers I'm pulling in between that to maximize those numbers.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people get overwhelmed as you look at the P&L and there's 150 different lines. It's like, I don't even want to get into that, but when, like you said, you can simplify it and you're just looking for these certain things. We're looking for the top, we're looking for the gross, we're looking for the net, we're looking for the cash in, cash out. You do that over the course of time, you're going to pick up on trends of why is it going up or down. One of the things you mentioned that I think everybody, if y'all didn't take this tidbit from Patrick, is he has money set aside for growth. So like part of his profit, he is putting in a different bank account saying, hey, this is to grow because we want to go from here to here. We're going to need capital to go from here to here, whether it's, hey, we need to hire a service manager and that person's not going to be fully up and running, or we need to go buy this jetter, or we need to something where a lot of times we're just making decisions like, oh, we got 100 grand in the bank. Yeah, we can do that. And we don't really know that 100 grand in the bank might not even be entitled to you at all because your payables and credit card and everything else is through the roof. So I love that. So when you are looking at that, Patrick, just like super high level, what type of gross profit are you guys shooting for? What type of EBITDA are you guys shooting for? In an ideal world.
So gross margin these days is usually around a 75%. EBITDA is usually a 30%. That's what we're shooting for. Now, my goal this year, we've been running higher than that on the EBITDA side, but I'd like to trim another 5%. And I think the technology is allowing us to do that. Last time I was at Service Titans Pantheon convention this last year, they really were pressing the AI button hard. And it's going to take a couple of years for us all to catch up. The software is so far ahead of us. It's really training humans. And then I've dove straight into the AI. I didn't realize, and I'm still learning, and I'm still retooling the business, how much that changed my internal operations, um, in a good way. But we had to let go of a lot of people because the AI did replace a lot of jobs. Um, and it changed my thinking too. So like these cool wrapped walls and office buildings and stuff, um, who am I doing that for? Right? Because at this point, all I need is a warehouse to house equipment. I can meet with the team via Zoom. We can take them out to a beautiful restaurant if we need a team meeting. And that's a whole lot cheaper than a mortgage payment on a monstrous building. I don't, I'm down to one office staff member running the operation. Um, I work remotely half the time. So does my business partner. And, and we've already passed some of those cost savings on the consumer. So I believe there's still more to be trimmed out of there. Uh, so my goal is to increase that EBITDA just from the bottom line alone 5%. I don't want to raise prices on the customers. I don't want to lower wages on employees. Material is going to be whatever it's going to be. That's only going up with gas prices and everything. So it's got to be through smart advertising and really, I know no one wants to look at the 150 line items on that P&L, especially on the overhead expenses. But if you can save a penny, you've earned a penny in there. Um, I love right now. Um, I don't love for people out there that are suffering from these inflated gas prices and stuff and in the turbulence that the market's been at. But I love it because it forces me to get really lean. And that's always my favorite time in business is when I just go, is this for ego or is it absolutely necessary? And I start making those cuts constantly. Again, that's why you need that P&L in your face. I It scares me when I talk to operators that have only look at their P&L once a year during tax time, or they tell me they look at it quarterly, or even a monthly review. I feel like a monthly review, now you're 30 days behind. You probably need several days studying. Now you're at 35 days. Um, eh, Now you need to come up with a plan. There's another 5 days. Now you need, 20 days to implement that plan to correct it. You're 60 days behind. You're like trying to turn a cruise ship a 180. And then that plan through training and process, probably another you're 90 days, maybe 6 months out to make course corrections. I feel like you should be looking at that at minimum weekly, looking at your P&Ls. Even if your CPAs can't and your accounting team can't get it to you that quick, like look at what you do have and keep looking at that and just every day challenge yourself to find one area in that P&L that you can improve and and you'll end up having to make these whole operational changes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so true. And you mentioned the ego. I say this often that usually the three things that are getting in the way of people from getting where they are to where they want to be is their ego, their emotions, and their excuses. You get rid of those, you can like it's really not. It's pretty simple. If you took the time to look into what do we need to do to get to where we want to go, the numbers are going to tell us everything. Now it's a
Yeah.
matter of is the ego in the way? Are we continuing to make excuses or are we emotionally tied to something or someone that, well, Debbie's been here for 10 years and she's still doing the bookkeeping and she's making $120,000, but she doesn't even understand bookkeeping or accounting and she's trying to do it for a $10 million business. So there's you've brought up so many things. We could go on forever, but I know time is valuable to everybody. But I did have a question because you said you're down to one office staff. Do you have virtual team members overseas, or do you literally are you using AI for everything? You just have one office staff. Just quick, high level, what's your office team look like right now?
So our HR is completely outsourced, and then AI handles most of the rest of it. Um, and it's one office staff member and myself. And that one office staff member, amazing though she is, she's not working 80-hour weeks or anything. Um, Most of the time, she's probably putting in 35 hours, 30 to 35 hours. So it's not insane level stuff. And I could run this business at double our current size without increasing the office staff. It wouldn't be until like around 20-ish that I would have to look at acquiring uh, more office members. We
So you're using
there's that much hyper efficiency in AI.
so
And
you're
I'm not
using
just
a
talking for CSRs, for dispatching, but even in your accounting, your payroll, um, you name it, office staff, there is AI that does it, and it's fully integratable with your CRMs. So you can house everything under one system instead of having this app fatigue and 20 different streams open.
so you're 100% AI, CSR, AI dispatching
Yes.
all day,
Yeah.
every day.
Like I said, we will be listing our building in the next 60 days on the market to sell. And we have a new location that we'll move to that's just kind of an empty, secure location. for equipment, vehicle parking, and whatnot, warehousing, and otherwise it'll be a dark shop. It will be. Uh, we'll work
This
remotely from home, part time.
this is phenomenal. If I had to guess, you're going to get people reaching out to you, Patrick, to learn how you've done this, because I know there's so plenty of people that aren't integrating AI at all, and if they're doing $10 million, they're spending a lot on office payroll. So I guess like kind of starting to bring it to a close as a leader. So obviously you said, you're an okay manager when it was somebody else's money. You probably got a lot better once it was your money. But where have you seen yourself change as a leader, going from, hey, we're going to do hyper growth, to, hey, we're going to focus on profitability, to now really like you're only in year 3, but it's really like the third iteration of like, we're going to make this thing super lean and efficient, take care of our people in the field, don't really have any office staff. Customers are going to love us. What has been your leadership journey? What have you had to start doing? What did you have to stop doing? Where do you have to have more discipline? Like, what does that transformation look like?
Um, I've always lived really hardcore disciplined. I'm a creature of habit and routine. Um, I think a lot of it has just been reading a lot of information out there about buying back my time, spending a lot more time. Kids growing up, I'm having some emptiness syndrome, right? And and then looking at my employees too, they're almost like children to me. That sounds rude. I shouldn't say it like that. I cared that much. Let me say that, right? And thinking about their families has really influenced a lot of our decision making, and just trying to be a better leader and not just. I don't want to just hit the number and appease the shareholder. Like you can do more. You could do more. Um, Adding the word and instead of but. Like we could make more revenue, but we'd have to give up time with our families. How about how do I make more and spend better quality time with our families? How do I make more and charge my customers less? And just adding to that plate, um, it's shocking because it's not, you think you're taking on more, but you actually figure out ways to be innovative and make it less. Just not limiting, having a very unlimited belief.
Yeah, I mean, it's powerful, right? Once you start, it's funny, like once you get a certain point and you look back at the problems you were struggling with 2 years ago, you're like, why were we even worried about that? Right. Like,
Yeah.
it felt like such a big problem 2 years ago. And now it's like, it's not even on the radar. Like we've jumped that and we're like 10 steps ahead. Um, but I love just, having the unlimited beliefs of, using the word and instead of but. That's a super powerful thing of, we feel so often, and it obviously AI and technology and efficiencies and all that are making this stuff super possible. But I
You
think
got
it
to
goes back.
surround yourself with good people as a leader. You said this earlier, finding people that are 2 steps ahead of you. Um, I find people, and I don't know him by any means. I've never met the man, but I listen and watch a lot of stuff like innovative people like Elon Musk does. Um, I listen and I've read a lot of stuff by Dan Martell about buying back your time using AI and stuff. And I'm just always trying to listen to these incredibly successful, intelligent people and then take their models and then fit it to my life, right? Because I don't want to be Elon Musk. I don't want to sleep at the Tesla factory. I'm not that dedicated, but I can take some of his ability to think outside the box and just not give up on a problem, or not just accept that, hey, this is the way that we've always done this. So let's try and find a way to save money somewhere else. Well, just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean that that's the best way to do it. We can break it and build something better.
100%. Yeah. And to me, it does go back to, that's what I was going to say. It goes back to, what we talked about earlier, finding people that, are where you want to be, and picking up the phone, calling and visiting and spending time with them and learning, how did you get there? Right. You pick up these efficiencies here and there. And like you said, using things that Elon Musk does or Dan Martell talks about, or any of these guys that are, flying around, you can use the same concept in your world today, but you don't have to, like you said, sleep at the Tesla factory floor. So as we wrap this up, Patrick, what's one, so you love numbers, I love numbers, most people ignore them, but what's one financial warning sign that you would recommend no owner ignore in their business?
So I'll give you three that are immediately popping up in my head right now. Um, one big one, especially in the home service industry, in the last, I don't know, 30 months, marketing costs on average nationwide have tripled. We're talking like a 300% increase cost per lead. Um, so really watch that number. Make sure that you are doing all the old school marketing that you can, that you're really focusing on your Google My Business page, you're focusing on your social media presence, all these free sources of marketing, following up on old estimates, making sure you have memberships so you're retaining customers instead of investing in new ones. That's a huge number, a great way for you to increase top line and reduce bottom line expenses is watching that marketing number. Um, Another one is it scares me how easy it is to get business loans and all these MCAs that are out there. They're very dangerous. Um, I get it. You don't want to miss growth opportunity, but I would really encourage people to try to be as conservative with that as possible. I'm not saying that I haven't listened. I've leveraged debt to explode growth and it's worked out great. But don't over leverage, like don't be 100% funded on debt and MCA loans and credit cards and stuff. Like try and find some balance in there, right? That's probably the best tax strategy too. Talk to your CPA about that or your tax strategist, but somewhere in the middle is probably the wisest approach on that. I've seen a lot of guys go upside down recently. And God, I lost the third one. I'm sorry,
That's
guys.
all right.
I
Two is
lost the
plenty.
third one.
Marketing and debt. The MCA thing, y'all, those people, they have all your data. They know exactly when you're going to run out of the money they gave you. And once you run out of money, they'll be like, oh, here you go. You can have it again. And they're just going to keep taking from you every single
Yes.
day. If you need an MCA loan, it tells you that there's a bigger problem in your business and you need to solve it. So, Patrick
Third
Fee,
one. Third
what's the
one. I
third
got it.
one?
It's get onto margin-based pricing. Your pricing should be built around your P&L, not some old school multiply it by 3.5 figure. It shouldn't be based on some adjustable logic. I've seen so many formulas. There's only one formula that you should be using, and that's margin-based pricing. If you don't have the P&Ls on your business, you need to rectify that immediately and then build your prices around your business. Not what your competitors do. Don't get pushed or bullied. Not what the customer needs you to do. What your business needs to be profitable, not just survive.
Those are great words to finish. Be profitable, not just survive. Patrick Fee, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Paul.
So it's really just sharing so much wisdom, knowledge, experience with our listeners. If they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
You can find us at mrdrainplumbers.com or you can reach me at patrick.fee@mrdrain.pro.
There y'all have it. Reach out to Patrick. He is the man. Patrick, thanks again. For everyone else out there, if this episode sounds familiar or inspires you and you want to reach out to me, send me an email to come on the show as well. We are always looking for great guests who are running home service businesses to inspire and help everybody else out there. Send me an email, paul@thebluecollaradvisors.com. Our number one focus is interviewing home service business owners who are either stuck in the grind or made it to the other side. Patrick, make it a great rest of your day, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Have a good one.